Still on.
Oh, fix
It's kind of funny. Maybe we got to deck this thing out with like noise reducing foam.
it. Yes.
Maybe go all the way, huh?
Something.
Okay. I think we are here.
Yep.
Brilliant. All right, my lady, you coming on
Yes.
coming on live and direct? What do we got here? Listeners, viewers, and everybody in between, welcome to One-on-One Live with Coach Blu and Marissa. It's good to have you here.
Hello.
Wow.
Happy to be here.
Good work. Did you hear that?
Mhm.
Shut right off.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is your time to jump in, ask some questions, anything that pertains to mental health, addiction, trauma, health, recreation, leisure. What's your favorite movie? I mean, whatever you want to discuss, this is, I guess, kind of the location, the place to do it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Coach Blu Robinson here at your service, licensed mental health therapist and addictions counselor. Marissa Robinson, CTRS, certified recreational therapist.
Yep.
I'm going to get it.
One of these days.
Yeah, CTRS, certified, nationally certified. The cool
Yes.
job. Absolutely. Hey, how are the dog days of winter treating you over there?
It's been nice that the
Hasn't
sun's been
too
out.
bad, has it?
Yeah. Sun's been out. And
I noticed that the inversion's kind of creeping in. And that's typically where most people start having some heartburn.
yeah.
And
right now we can still see the blue sky though.
yeah, we are lucky enough to be living next to the canyon, so it blows a lot of it away.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of nice. Hey, keep your calendars in check, everybody. This upcoming Tuesday, we are going to have our 2020, 2021, and the decade year in review.
That's
We're going to
the plan.
broadcast this live too. So anyone that can't be there, if you're out of state or whatnot, tune in, because a lot of the local chapters here in the Utah County area and Utah area itself, but also abroad, you may have been nominated to receive awards. Yeah. So if you can't make it, I would definitely tune in on our social media outlets, because there's a high chance that one of you out there has won some kind of an award. So
Yep.
this is going through.
If you have an award nominee that you would like to send, please email me.
We have things like Coach of the Year. We've got our team-wide nationally recognized MVPs, right? Our minor league.
Yep, we have Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year, service.
Some funny ones.
Yep. Podcast of the Year. We
Most
have that.
enthusiastic about running usually.
Absolutely. So we got lots of stuff there. If you are in the Utah County area, specifically the Provo, Utah area, and you want to come, jump on our Facebook page.
Yeah,
You'll see
we'd
all
love
the
to have
connections there. We'd love to see you guys.
Yep. Check our website. There's a resources, I think, events tab or about us. And there's other events we have coming up. I try to keep those updated pretty well.
Absolutely. And as always, Marissa, we've got our Patreon subscribers. We've had a new update in our Patreon subscribers. Want to welcome back officially Joe Jackson.
Yes,
Right. So welcome back,
Joe.
Joe. Joe's from our buddy from across the pond there. He's taking the coaching program. He's going to become a certified addict athlete sober coach too.
Yeah.
And recovery coach over there.
Or possibly bringing a chapter of Addict Athlete to England.
Absolutely.
I'm
So
excited about that.
Here we go. But if you want to jump on our Patreon platform and get access to we call it the Extracurricular Recovery Playbook. It is episodes and homework assignments and thought-provoking interactions to help you either maintain the recovery path, establish your course to gain some sobriety, not just in the world of addictions, to overcome mental health challenges, to understand more about that, and challenging and get over and through some trauma too. So we've kind of created this playbook for you guys to utilize through whatever adversity you might face. Yeah. So we drop, one, sometimes 2 episodes a week on this playbook, and we get a lot of interaction. We get lots of people that are using the platform as I wanted it to, meaning they get stuck on something, they have questions, they email me and the other coaches that'll be coming online to help. But reach out.
This is as we continue to get this thing published. We've been working on it for a decade.
Yeah, really.
But you guys get the first chance and at the greatest price. So get on and become a Patreon, and you can pretty much have kind of an outpatient counseling, counseling on your own.
So what it looks like too is that for $2 a month, you can gain access to all of our bonus content, all that online coaching stuff is right there. Anything above that, if you pick a tier that works for you, qualifies you for all kinds of other perks and other features, from merchandise to offers and deals to exclusive interactions and so on and so forth. So check it out. It's patreon.com/addictathlete. But we got some super fans here.
Yes.
They are Jerem living in Brazil, Thurston, my man out there, Holly Davies, who's moving right now as we speak.
I think she's moved in.
Is she? Lucky.
Well, unpacking probably.
Oh, right on. So maybe she's listening to this while she's unpacking.
Yeah.
Scott Foster and the Foster family, Coach Chris Williams, Brett Frew, Coach Tara Butson, Steve Riggs, and the Warrior Within podcast and personal development by Sensei KP. Our rookie level subscribers, they are Kenny Roseman, Sherry Polson.
Yeah, Sherry.
She's new. We got her on board. Welcome, Sherry. Earl Dyer, and of course, Joe Jackson. Welcome all you guys. Thank you so much. Our pro level subscribers, we got Gary Thurston and Josh Hansen. Thank you to both so much. And our championship level subscribers, these guys are amazing. Top tier donors here. We got Shad and Freya Robinson and the Robinson family, Robinson Caruso, all those out there.
Yes.
You and I are going to be doing a bigger run with them later on this summer.
Yeah,
we're going to Mount Rainier.
We're trying to figure out our plans for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Maybe we'll just hitchhike with them. We got Ron and Dee Loesch and Tracy Whitby. Thank you all so much, our championship level subscribers. Yeah, now that we're in a new year, we're getting our new shirt, and we're offended because we saw one of our shirts donated to DEI.
Yeah, what?
Someone's losing weight or someone's moving forward, because it's kind of funny when someone sees it and they snatch those things up.
Send me pictures.
But the new shirt's coming out soon, so stay tuned. We'll get your information and either we'll do a meet and greet or get those sent up to you. So I look forward to this new year of Patreon subscribers. Again, patreon.com/addictathlete for more information.
Thank you, guys.
Marissa, we got so many questions that come in and so little time to answer them. Today, we're going to cut this a little short because we got a meeting to open up hopefully more chapters of Addict to Athlete.
Yep, we are looking at lots of other chapters in the state of Utah and hopefully more, but we have a meeting about it right next.
Absolutely. So we'll jump right into this without too much ado. But if you have questions or you'd like to be on the podcast, you can either jump on here through Zoom. We can bring you on through the technology of cell phone. Or we can actually just answer your question if you post it there in the feed itself. Marissa's doing like triple duty.
Yes, I'm trying to get everything going here.
Absolutely. And this podcast that we're recording now goes directly onto our podcast. Any Apple, Spotify, any podcasting site, we pretty much have our stuff on there. Yeah. We just got done with an amazing podcast before we get started that you guys are going to really enjoy. I was in tears for half of it. It's an amazing woman who has had an experience with sex trafficking, addiction, and overcoming the most intense adversity that I think I've heard of in a long time. And just her understanding of the healing process really blew my mind. A lot of it because there are some similarities there. And I love it when we find similar thinking.
You guys use some same key words, which is crazy.
It's funny how that's the same kind of key comments and understanding with just a little bit of a different flair, but it's like, oh, I love that. So look forward to this podcast coming up this coming Monday. And that being said, our podcast that's out right now with Dr. Thompson, powerful podcast.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if we said last week, Dr. Thompson's wife was a childhood friend of mine, and I went to high school with her. And in fact, her mom worked with my mom at Payson High School as special ed and resource teachers. And so, we go a long way back. And a few years ago, found out her husband was an addiction doctor. And more recently, I was like, we've got to get him on our podcast. And it was a phenomenal interview. So Dr. Thompson from Virginia.
It is. It's good. And the cool thing I liked about him is he's been doing this for so long. He was one of the first ones to kind of start leaning into it, I would say. Like, I'll call him a pioneer to a certain degree. When most doctors and whatnot, you get in there, you're looking for, a very specific talent or trait or specialize in some kind of like medicine. Addiction recovery, when he did it, wasn't really the go-to thing.
No, they didn't really have it.
No, and the money wasn't there. The traditional kind of doctor role wasn't there. And so I would say, is a pioneer. And so listen to that podcast.
Well, what I loved is that he is in recovery himself. And he went through one of the traditional ways of rehab and 12 steps and all of that. But as he's gone through medical school, he's been able to like recognize things that he thinks well, maybe this isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, though, once they get their way of healing, that's what they assume is everyone's way of healing. And that's how everyone has to do it. But he was able to recognize different modalities through the medical model, the clinical model, the, you know, a 12-step model, and be able to like bring some things together, which are phenomenal. I love people that have open minds and can change their opinions and ideas as life progresses, rather than people that are just, this is the way it's always been done, we just keep doing it.
Absolutely. So today there's a question that comes up, and we've talked about this. I think this is kind of how the comment kind of came through. With some private therapy that I've been doing recently, I've had a lot of couples coming in. Mm-hmm. And typically what I've noticed now is that couples are coming in when the damage has been done. And I'm going to say that it's almost too late.
Yeah.
Minds have been established, things have been made up, and they come to me hoping that I can either solidify the end or justify the separation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what is the real problem here then? Okay. Because the question is, loosely based off of, when do I know it's time to seek couples counseling before it's too late? Now, that in and of itself can strike fear in a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. Why do you think most couples resist, or maybe a partner in a relationship resists going to counseling?
I think often it's just self-inflicted. Like they look at the therapist as, or anyone outside as going, if I go to them that I have a problem, they know I didn't do something right. They know I'm failing. They know I'm broken. And it's just
my fault.
It really, to me, it is kind of a pride thing. Mm-hmm. That you don't want anyone to know what's going on. And that you've done something wrong, or that you've messed up, or that,
yeah.
And that's not what it's about. That I can promise you, the therapist sitting there is not there to judge you. That's not what they're doing. That's not where they went into the field. If they are, walk out of the office and find someone else. There's enough out there that are good.
Absolutely. The other thing too is that therapists, they should never be picking sides. That's a hard one too, because of just, maybe backgrounds and transference, countertransference, those kind of things. But, the thing that I think we need to start talking about is, when is it time to go? When is it time to kind of like, surrender and say, all right, if I want this relationship to thrive or succeed, we need to look at this. It's hard to convince your partner if they don't want to go too.
Yeah. To me, everybody in any long-term relationship should go to counseling.
I agree.
Why
would you say that?
We've talked a lot about our story. We found some issues early on while we were dating. And when I said, you need to go to therapy, you need to go to counseling. And then soon as we were getting more serious, your therapist said, well, you both should be in here. Mm-hmm. Why are you doing this alone? And so we went. And I believe, we've been married now. Our anniversary is coming.
Yeah, 22
years. And I think it's because we went to therapy for almost a year, like while we were dating, and then first little part of being married. And it made an enormous difference.
It did.
Did we go because we had a problem? Yes.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful that we had a problem recognized and got into those doors.
Blue had a problem.
Yes.
Yes. Did we find out that Marissa also wasn't perfect?
Yes.
No, she is perfect. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so I think that it made that first year of dating, and then that first year of marriage. Everyone says that the first few years are difficult, and they weren't. They were normal.
Nope. Our dating was really hard because we were learning a lot, going through a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think everyone should go. But if you're having the same fight over and over again without resolution, I think it might be time to see a counselor. If you're seeing things that keep reoccurring, that you're not feeling any movement, it might be time to look at maybe going in. You can see a therapist if you're feeling stuck about a situation, if you're feeling depressed, if you're having a hard time, which I've seen is kind of the theme of most of these, struggling with communication. It's a big part of this. If you're considering splitting up, if there's a minor or major stress in the relationship, if there's identity issues, spiritual issues, financial situations, job changes, death in families. There's a million and one reasons to go.
Yeah, I think anyone should go, honestly. Mm-hmm. If you are starting and serious about a long-term relationship, whether it's going well or not, go into a therapist. They're going to help you just get to know each other, because so that it's not some shock and surprise later, or, it doesn't matter what relationship you're in, you communicate differently, and learning how each other communicates and how you can work through issues and problem is not going to hurt anyone.
Absolutely. Most people go to couples counseling when there's an intimacy issue or there's communication issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about sexual intimacy. I'm talking about emotional intimacy. There seems to be a connection loss, right?
Yeah.
Like there's something not quite kicking there. A couple is usually at the crossroads of knowing how to move forward, but wanting, I guess, more information. And are you coming with me, so to speak? We have to change. We have to grow. Are we going to be able to get this to happen?
Yeah.
I've noticed that when couples come to counseling, you should consider, is there core communication struggles first and foremost?
Mm-hmm.
Feelings of boredom or numbness about the relationship.
That's a good one.
Think about that for a sec, right? Yeah. Numbness. What do you think about that?
Just going, kind of in a state of like a trance of sorts,
Absolutely. Wanting to learn how to have a healthy conflict, like outcome, like conflict resolution, right? Desire to improve the relationship, feelings of being distant from your partner. This typically happens in the world of pornography, and pornography is a big one that really puts strains on relationships significantly. There's a lot of unknown variables with pornography addiction, and the hard part about some of this stuff is that pornography is not always about sex. And that's kind of a hard thing to wrap our heads around, because that's what it initiates. That's what it entails.
Yeah.
A lot of time what I've noticed is that it's a coping mechanism for stress. Sometimes intimacy on a sexual level has decreased in a relationship. Sometimes the ability to even communicate and talk about sex is so difficult within relationships that it becomes a taboo topic even in and of itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of core concepts to this. One of the hardest ones I've noticed recently with couples I've been working with is this concept of the dead bedroom, which is kind of like, there's a situation of each person in the relationship, the husband and the wife or the partner, they have very specific tests to be mastered throughout the day. Maybe it's you're the stay-at-home parent, so you're working with the kids all day, and the parents going out and working, or maybe it's a dual relationship by which they both work. But when you come home, it's not always time for sexy time, and so resentments can kind of flare up. Like I've seen this on a few TikToks and things where, the wife will say the husband comes home and starts feeling frisky, and she's like, I'm about ready to tear all my hair out because of the kids and the stress here. That's the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
And so these are all core concepts that really, I think, would invoke some mediation and some counseling to find out what's at the cause of this.
And just how to understand each other better, because oftentimes it's not like a personal attack against your spouse if you don't want to have sex. It's something else they're going through, and recognizing it's not something that's, and understanding each other more makes it much better.
Absolutely. Managing the transition between parenthood and from that beginning stages of building a family, and the whole other side of that, transitions of empty nest syndrome.
Yeah.
That's when most people get divorces after children leave the home, because now after all these years of unresolved conflict, they look at each other and think, well, I don't have anything in common with you.
Who is this person? We've done everything for the kids. We haven't stayed connected to each other.
Yeah. People come to counseling in case of betrayal or extramarital affairs. I mean, feelings of being attached or codependent. There's a million and one reasons. My thing is I believe everyone should go. I wouldn't wait until these problems are so overwhelming that it's hard to even pick a starting point.
Yeah.
Because when people come in that have waited too long, there's a lot of animosity, there's a lot of anger and frustration.
Yeah.
And that's something we want to avoid.
Yeah. And then it's too hard to dig out of.
Anyone that can hear this podcast, the first thing you should do in a problematic marriage is get the book 7 Principles to a Functional Marriage by John Gottman.
Yeah. 7 Principles to Making a Marriage Work or something. But that's a good start.
We'll attach it to this podcast, because the Gottman Institute is probably the foremost leader of relationship-based therapy and intervention. It is a book that our therapist recommended to us. We laughed at old therapist Arlen, but We read it and
it
worked a lot. So first and foremost, do that. Second of all, reach out, find a therapist that's going to work for you guys, and then lean into the process. Follow through, right?
Yep.
It's a big one. I see we got some questions here. Anybody's?
Yes, we have somebody would like, Selena has a question.
Awesome. Let's bring them on. Hopefully all this new technology works, right?
Yeah.
Let me turn up this little volume here, make sure that it's on. Yeah, some good pointers, some good tips there.
Yeah,
I think. All right, Miss Selena, are you on?
Unmute.
Let's see. Oh yeah, you got your mic off. There you go. Welcome on to the show here. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Good to hear. What you got?
Well, I just wanted to get some tips on, like, our lives have done a 180 in the last month, and with Warren losing his job because of health reasons, he's on oxygen now permanently, 24/7. So our income stopped abruptly, and we're doing okay together because we have a strong bond, but things are getting rougher by the day, or more scary about what our future's going to hold. So it's hard to not let my depression kick in, and my anxiety. So I'm trying to work a little bit on that, but
absolutely. And that can be a hard transition state. These are the concepts we're talking about with seeking counseling and stuff. Together, you guys are okay, you're strong, but there are now some unforeseen complications that, your future didn't really, I think was geared towards, correct? So how are you guys doing together? Like, are you guys okay being able to talk about some of the hard, scary things?
Oh yeah, we are. I mean, him more than I, because I have more issues mentally, but
yeah, Warren's an optimistic guy, so I can kind of see him keeping you a little bit
thank goodness
calm day. Absolutely.
And what I know that I really need to do, and I'm saving up for it, is I need counseling. I need to start in counseling again, because I have a lot of things that I need to work through that are so fearful. But in the meantime, just any tips. I mean, we do draw off each other. He seems to just roll with the flow, and I'm panicky about everything. Are we going to lose our house? Are we going to have to move?
What I like to talk about playing that story all the way through, right? Because no matter what, we are designed to always see the bad, right? And this is something that I learned a long time ago. When Marissa and I were first married, and there were things that Marissa and I know we needed to kind of work on with like finances, school, starting a family, buying a home. I always had that in my back of my head is, what if we lose all this stuff? What if we lose everything? And it was kind of an interesting thing, because what I began to understand is that I could be happy and okay with them in a 2-bedroom apartment, 6 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. It would suck, but we could do it.
Right.
And when I started realizing the fact that, my worst fears would never come true, but even if they did, we would get through it, because our love, our communication, our relationship is on a whole different level. So what if you lose your house, right? What if you surrender your house to downsize to get something smaller, right? You could do it. It's not what you don't want to do it, but you could.
I mean,
but that's
probably
an option.
Even done it before, right?
Absolutely. You've done things before. But here's the other side of that coin too, is that's the worst case scenario. There are still programs and things out there that you can access that are for things like this too. It's about being able to jump through hoops and to ask lots of questions.
There's still tons of COVID relief for home, at least for Utah specifically.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I can totally understand that. And the scary part now comes is like, well, there's this limitation now on what you guys are able and capable of doing, but you're both resourceful. So I know you'll find ways around that too. The worst case scenario never going to happen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
and like Marissa said, I've done it before. I've gone into a 1-bedroom apartment and I lived, barely found a home at one point. So, I'm not afraid if we have to sell our house. There's just 2 of us. We could get by in a 1-bedroom apartment or a older house or whatever if we had to. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm keeping my head from going into every negative scenario is what I'm really struggling with. And so
it is, and it's all fear-based. Okay. All that stuff is fear-based. And that's the human condition. Remember, we talked about this 1,000,001 times about flipping that script, about not allowing the fear to creep in, but applying faith to it. It's the same thing, different outcomes. And it's hard because you have to make a very conscious mindset shift in order to kind of like excuse the fear and bring on the faith.
Yeah.
But instead of fearing that you could lose your house, having faith that you'll have sufficient for your needs to do what you can when and if. Does that make sense? There's a lot out there, but it's not easy when what you're really probably worried and concerned about is your husband.
Oh my goodness, his health. And since he's been on the oxygen, it's like he's 100% better. He can breathe and his color's better and he's not having the heart issues. And so, that's the most important thing. But
so there's
definitely
inconveniences, but there will definitely be some outcomes. And you're right. There are some things that I think we can work with you on to kind of shift that mindset, but it really is about excusing the fear and bringing on the faith. And it takes a very specific set of tools to be able to do that. Allow that fear to come in, but don't let it linger, right? Say, all right, I've identified the fear here. Now I'm going to apply this. But remember, faith without works accomplishes nothing. So you've still got to do things on your part, right? Yeah. You've still got to, when Marissa and I were looking at our finances so that she could, because she wanted to stay home and be home with the kids, which we thought that would be perfect. We had to cut a lot of things, right? We had to cut a vehicle. We had to cut, cable and some of the extras. I really enjoyed, eating out and buying lots of like stuff for my bike. All that came to an end.
I remember a simple one of, when I would go to work, we would turn down the thermostat really low. So I'm like, okay, well, we don't need to turn it up when I'm home. We use, sweaters and blankets and, we just had to cut everything, every excess, every subscription or monthly, there's so many apps now that are some $5.99, $9.99. And you look at it and those really add up.
It does.
Well, so funny you'd mentioned the cable because that's the first thing we canceled. We canceled that. I'm like that, so that helped us there. We've downside. We've canceled about everything we can that wasn't a necessity. And we also are turning our heat down and trying to.
One of my other ones too, is I can't believe how much stuff we have always. Junk in the back of cupboards, closets that we don't use, haven't used in forever. And man, Facebook Marketplace, KSL classifieds is amazing. You post a picture and somebody comes to your house and takes your junk away and pays you for it.
Like, heck yeah.
That's
a great idea. I need to go down the basement.
Tons of stuff that you could sell that other people are totally in need of.
And you have talents that can provide that kind of stuff too,
Yeah. And that's another, I won't stay on too much longer, but I just wanted to bring up the point of if this does help someone who wasn't used to being together 24/7. And we are now, that was rough at first, not because I love him, with all my heart, and
absolutely,
but it was really hard. So we've kind of found our niche. I go do my projects and he does his thing, and it's like we don't just sit there on the couch going, oh my gosh, like I say, not that I didn't love him, but you can't go from one extreme to the other so quickly.
It's hard. I remember even just COVID, all of a sudden being home all the time and then home with our kids and now them all at school and Blue gone. It was almost the same reverse with Blue going to work every day and the kids going to school. I was like, I miss them. Like, at that point, you're like, wait, where are they? Yeah.
So
but it's just transitioning.
Keep posted and keep your creative mind going.
Is your schedule for therapy still in the same spot?
I think we'll have to send
You'll
you
just
a
have
new
to
one.
email
Yeah,
me
we've got
right
a
now.
different schedule now. So just email Marissa. She'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for, have a good day, both of you.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Yeah, that's a big one. When there's those kind of changes like that, it gets real difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so hard to go. Okay, we have a new guy on named Enos. I'm gonna move him over. He says he has a question.
Awesome. No, thank you, Selena. And man, hope Warren can get what he needs. I know that
whether it's disability or another job with, that he can do.
Yeah, he's a very optimistic guy too. And I think whenever we face health kind of concerns or issues that way, the person experiencing them, the more optimistic they can be, the stronger the resolve and the outcome could be. I mean, your mindset is absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I learned about Warren. And I know that, it's funny how Selena and he kind of like met because they're very opposite when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he can help her calm down and vice versa. So it's a good relationship. Well, Enos, welcome to One-on-One with Coach Blu. Looks like you've got your mic still off. So once we get you to click on that,
you don't need to come on with the video if you don't want.
No, we'll just click on.
If not, you can also even go back over and just type your question in our chat window.
Yeah. There you go.
Now just
closer. Now unmute, and you are live and in studio. There you go.
Hey,
is that better?
Welcome to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Sorry,
Welcome to the
my
show.
phone's a little. Here, let me do that.
You're good.
Okay,
No
I'm on my
worries.
lunch break right now. I just was actually checking on social media. So, yeah, my name is Enos Slivers. I've actually heard about you guys in the CATS program in the Oxbow jail.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Somebody mentioned it. So I finished the CATS program about 6 years ago. I've been sober. January 6th was my birthday. I know Bill very well. I just want to first thank you guys for everything you do. I follow you. It's for me, the addict to athlete really hit home for me just because I've always been an athlete my whole life as a kid. Growing up to adulthood, even now, I'm 46, but I feel just as young as I was when I was 21 now that I'm sober, and I have all cylinders in my brain and the brain chemistry's flowing. Some more than others, some emotions more than others, but that's okay. I just really have two questions. I recently got married to my girlfriend, and I've known her for about 5 years, almost 6 years, this whole journey. We got married. She's an athlete as well. She has her story. We love the boundaries. We love the time that we give each other, because we know too much of everything can be, obviously I'm an addict, so I understand. The balance of work, life, play, and then personal time. We both want to build a brand for ourselves, but we also understand, and we really take to heart the saying of we're stronger together.
Awesome.
She's already got a really good following on her social media. She's a strongman competitor. She's in the Army, but she has a good story to share as well.
Cool.
As far as being a combined team with your soulmate, your spouse, and doing something like this, for me, I'm way separate. I'm an alcoholic. I'm recovering. And my story is, I was with Casey Scott. I did a KSL podcast with him.
Nice.
And that was a few years when I actually got out of jail. I'm a former police officer as well. And I have no shame. The best part, one thing I'm kind of going off on another branch here. One thing that I really love about the recovery process is now everything is out in the open. I have nothing to hide. And I think really that was the biggest thing and strength I was able to learn from this is there's no shame. I don't have to hide it. I don't have to lie upon lie upon lie. Now I could just say, you know what? I need help, and I'm surrendering, and the pieces will break apart, but it'll come back together as needed.
Absolutely.
Which happened in my family life and whatnot. So, the reason I really like the addict to athlete is, I was both. now I'm just choose just to be the athlete. So I have a wide variety. I wrestled in college. I have the law enforcement experience. I have that social work aspect. I'm a 4-time Ironman, full distance Ironman finisher. I did 2 halves.
Wow. Well done, man.
I just got my brown belt in jiu-jitsu here locally.
Wow.
I love teaching, so I help teach at a gym. I'm a Jim Jones certified coach. I'm working on getting the advanced, but as I go through this, and really the question I'm asking for both of you is, I've done, I heard you talk about somebody that was part of it.
We lost you there for a sec. Someone might be trying to text you.
I also volunteer for an organization. So I'm the North American operations director for a human trafficking organization. What I'm really getting at here is I do all these great things. I've really met all the right people at the right time as I could personally do. Now I really want to branch out, but I'm helping other people build their brand and help other people with my experience and my story. It seems like is benefiting others more than it is what I really want to do, as in volunteer work and nonprofit or whatnot.
Yeah.
I know there's a time where you just got to jump and go.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I want to do work with my wife, but I don't want it to impede or her become a competition, because we're very competitive too. I don't want her to feel like we're competing, but we're still a team and still be healthy and have those boundaries. But does that make sense? It's really not a question. It's kind of an open-ended. Jump in when you feel, where you think I could use some advice or where to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, like you've been pretty lazy since you got out. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man. That's amazing. Like that is absolutely amazing that you've been able to
accomplish so much,
accomplish and create that, because from literally the bottom to climbing your way back up top, that's not easy. Relationships in this kind of stuff are awesome too. And, the one beautiful thing that Marissa and I have is, we run this team, but it's everybody else that makes us look really good because everyone else is doing it. Does that make sense?
We have a lot of volunteers.
We have a ton of volunteers. But we put in a ton of time, and you're right. Doing that competition before because I was a knucklehead growing up too. And, before I went to school, Marissa was bringing in our income. She was professional in her own right. Until she decided to stay home for a few years with the kids. She made more money than me. And it was interesting because when I went on to get my master's degree, she made that comment too of like, man, now you're going to have more education than me. But when she said that, it registered with me like, this woman is so outstanding with the things that she does. I'm never going to be able to hold a candle to what she's done and what she, who she is. Together, we've made a really amazing team. So it boils down to, what is it that both of you want? And how can you both kind of like lean into it to the point where it's not, oh, you're Blue's wife or you're Marissa's husband. It's, oh, you guys are, said name. It's hard that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what do you think?
Yeah. So when we got married, like Blue said, I had my bachelor's degree and he was a high school dropout. So yes, I wanted him to have more. I wanted him to be able to provide and be able to have stability and be able to, for us, when we have kids that, he can bring in an income. But yeah, when he did, all of a sudden, then I was like, wait, he passed me. I was kind of sad, but we're so different too. Like he is so good at the things he does, and I am really good at the things I do. But there are things where we cross over, but there's so many things we can do together, but we have our own separate talents. And that's what we try to utilize. The things that I'm good at, I try to do more of. Same with him. There's things I'm good at that I do with Addict to Athlete that I absolutely hate though. And we had this argument the other day. I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this. But then it was just like, how can we get to the point we can have enough income that we can pay somebody else to do that? And we just have to be able to talk and make those adjustments as things go. Like I say, it's just,
though, at the core of it, what you're saying too, is that both of us have this internal drive to want to help and to share and to motivate and promote, recovery.
Yeah.
So although she has her talents, I have mine, you have your talents and she has hers. There is that common thread that you both have that will make you a powerhouse in whatever you guys do. And it's because of that competition, and it's because of that love and that respect and that appreciation of what you have. There's something in the middle that you guys can identify that literally will make you outstanding, people in the community. So that's where I would focus if I were you, is what's the commonality in the middle? You both have your own talents, and then you could promote her and she could do big things and inspire. You're doing the same thing, but yet you're like, okay, now I want to do this motivational coach thing. I want to show people how strong they are and what happens when they don't give up or typecast themselves into one paradigm of addicts. You'll find that connection that you both have, and that is where you lean in together. I would still do both of your things you're doing. I would still, still keep doing all the stuff you're doing.
Okay.
In fact, you're so lazy. You'd throw in a few more things, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well,
but
the thing
does that
is,
make sense? That middle part.
Yeah. Yeah. All that is great. I just really, I had thought what you were saying, and thanks for sharing that. I think once again, when you go into a partnership on a business sense, or it changes the dynamics of the marriage, because it's, you're in an agreement of, hey, we're going to live together. This is how we're going to do it. But then when you go a step further, like, hey, let's build a brand, but be separate, things can also, you're almost bringing on the whole set of the blueprint. Things need to be filled in as you go. I know there's going to be a conflict. I know there's going to be indifferences. That's just part of life. That's marriage.
That's interesting.
I also understand that you guys made it, or you're making it. I guess not made it, because we never get to the end point. You're making it, and it's a good. I guess really is that part of the coaching program you guys have, and the link that I was sent?
It is, but you're saying something that kind of rung a bell with me, and I want your thoughts on this too. The brand, the mission came way before the brand. In fact, I don't think we even call ourselves a brand, which is kind of an interesting thing, right?
Sure.
It is kind of the entrepreneur kind of like hook right now. And until you said that, I hadn't really thought about that. I don't look at what Addict Athlete's doing as a brand, but I guess it is.
Yeah.
Our mission, about changing the public's perception on who an addict, what an addict is, and erasing that and replacing it with things of greater value. That I think led out way before I would. In fact, it's funny, the branding, because even when we were trying to choose even something as simple as our logo,
name and logo,
like I didn't realize how important that was. But we've never made that our goal, have we?
Yeah.
And I've never thought about it until you said that. I'm like, wait a sec. Maybe focus on what you guys want as a mission and let the brand naturally take its course. Maybe it'll show itself through, you guys doing some brainstorming together, because you've definitely got something. Both of you have amazing lives. You've overcome amazing adversities. You have the power to inspire a lot of people to literally, like we say, turn the mess into the message, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And like you said, that you asked for our recovery coach training. It's something to look into. We have, when you get trained, you can have the potential to start your own chapter and work with us and the nonprofit, or even utilize it as starting your own business as like a recovery sober coach. So something that's kind of a for-profit business.
People do both.
And we've had people do both. But it just kind of teaches all of the addiction recovery, substance abuse, and then also just our philosophy with it. And it's a phenomenal way to, even just see where you're at with it.
Yeah, we need to have you come down and chat with our athletes too down here. It'd be cool, because you've got, I have a friend coming in tomorrow. We do a podcast called Chase the Vase. He's a podcast called Chase the Vase. Ours is Agents of Recovery. It's the second podcast Addict Athlete does. He's the same situation, retired law enforcement, injured on the job, got into addiction because of that. He and Max Hall, football player, we do this podcast. His story is a lot like yours. And so, his brand is kind of like, hey, if you want it, go get it. So if I were you, I would sit with your wife and say, look, we both have the power to inspire and do a lot of neat things. What's your why? And then compare those two things, because really what it sounds like is you two could be a very strong powerhouse in not just addiction recovery, but in just like overcoming adversity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't even typecast yourself into one paradigm. I would say, let's go for the whole self.
Exactly. And I appreciate it. Thank you. And I don't want to take too much time, but as I dabbed into the anti-human trafficking, my ex-law enforcement being that part of that instructor, the firearms, and then the grappling, and then I got in, I wasn't want to try to do an Ironman. So I did one. Then I'm like, I want to do this. Now swimming's part of my recovery or part of my therapy. And then I've got then I got the Jim Jones, where I just through associates, they said, you be a great strength conditioning coach. So it's really not one thing. They all complement each other. And as I talk about this with my wife, we've always talked about this since before I faced my recovery and dove into it. Like, we've really got an awesome powerhouse thing going, but I think it just got better with time. And the older I get, the more things I experiment with, it just broadens my reach, I guess. It just
absolutely
the reach. So, a lot of people say specialize in one thing, but I think, well, actually, that's not just how my brain works.
And it's okay to be good at everything. More than one. Absolutely.
So
you're spot on.
Okay.
And then
so how do I get a hold of you guys?
If it becomes too much, you get rid of it.
Right.
So our emails are on our website. That link I sent you, you can just email me there. And you can have the other link. It's marissa@addictathlete.org.
And then is all any events or anything that you guys hold, is that on your website as well?
Yeah.
And the links. Okay. Well, I'd love to meet you guys in person.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to chat with you. Yeah. Don't be a
stranger.
Okay,
let's chat. I'd love it. So, okay, guys. Well,
good meeting you.
I got to get back to work. So I will talk to you guys in a little bit. You have a good day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Okay.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. I think that's kind of an interesting concept, isn't it? I've never really thought about that, but he's right. Like the brand versus the mission. That's kind of an interesting concept. Well, listeners, thank you all for being here today. Because as he just said, as do we. We have a meeting we got to jump into, but I want to thank you all for being here. Each week we bring this show to you. We'll put it as a podcast. So if you want to hear more, maybe you caught the middle of it, you can check out all of the platforms that we hold podcasts on, which is pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And thank you all, Radio Ronin, for all that you do for Team Addict Athlete. And until next time, please